Breaking news. Iran vows consequences if U.S. undermines Tehran's oil trade as tensions mount. Iran's President Hassan Rouhani issued a stark warning to the U.S. saying there will be consequences if Washington succeeds in blocking Tehran's international oil exports. Tensions between Tehran and Washington have continued to grow as Mr. Rouhani branded the U.S. efforts to thwart its oil export meaningless. During his trip to Switzerland, the Iranian president said, "It would be meaningless that Iran cannot export its oil while others in the region can. Do this if you can and see the consequences." The relations between the two parties started to stir on May 8, when U.S. President Donald Trump decided to pull out from the 2015 nuclear deal, officially known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA. And they worsened when the White House announced its plan to impose sanctions on Iran's business partners if they didn't cut Iranian oil imports down to zero by November 4, in a bid to isolate Tehran politically and economically. Brian Hook, who is leading negotiations with U.S. allies on a new Iran strategy, said on Monday, "Our focus is on getting as many countries importing Iranian crude down to zero as soon as possible. We are also working with oil market participants, including producers and consumers, to ensure market stability." Among the countries targeted by the U.S. there are India, Turkey, China and South Korea. And Mr. Trump is not conceding exceptions to EU countries either, despite their request to negotiate exemptions for their firms. The Trump administration's actions were blasted as without logic by Mr. Rouhani. He said, "Iran's logic has not changed. One party without logic has left the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action with the goal of putting pressure on the Iranian nation. We told all our foreign parties that if they speak to the Iranian nation with the language of logic and respect, then we can get problems solved and the threats, pressure and humiliation will never work against the people of Iran." Mr. Trump announced on Twitter he spoke to Saudi Arabia's King Salman asking to raise its oil production to take Iran's place on the international market. But Tehran vowed on Sunday to crush any U.S. efforts to interfere with its oil exports by allowing private companies to export crude oil. Ishq Jahangiri, Iran's first vice president, said, "We will surely do something to thwart the U.S. rallying cry that Iranian oil exports must be stemmed. The Iranian government has a plan, and God willing we are certain that we will be able to sell as much oil as we want." Iran possesses the second largest gas reserves on the planet after Russia, and the fourth largest oil supplies after Venezuela, Saudi Arabia and Canada.